boom. Na 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 na. All right, good morning. Here I am. Here we are. Daily habits, daily rituals. New habits, new rituals. How's the Tash? Yeah, I just wake up looking like this. Backlit, beautiful. Reflections in the glasses, all good. First thing I always do is have coffee. It's coffee time with daddy. And then I open my browser, and which has been recording my habits, my browsing habits for a very long time. Anyway, this is the first thing that popped up, the first thing I clicked. If Xbox is recommitting to its console, what does that mean for its recent everything is an Xbox strategy? First of all, this is not a recent strategy. This is kind of this article trying to be trying to seem like it's striking while the iron is hot. SEO, search engine optimization, maybe, or UX, user experience. Questionable. So is this improving my experience of reading this? Because I think I'm reading something that is hot off the press. But no, everything is an Xbox strategy. I think that's even a direct quote of Phil Spencer, this guy, a longtime boss, who I did not know retired. Not sure when he retired. But yeah, I remember him saying that. Maybe it might be years ago. So that's nothing new. PC Gamer. I wonder how much ad revenue they make off of Microsoft ads. Is that the other way around? Yeah. No, it's not. You seen Mad Men? Mad Men's a good show. After struggling to compete with blah, 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 blah. So I'm not going to lie, I read this first paragraph already. And it's what all gamers are talking about and are aware of. PlayStation and Nintendo are way better consoles, man, than Xbox. So they kind of shift, and now they're thinking about being more of a software company. If you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. So creating a platform is what they would tell you for independent game companies to have access to distribution channels like Steam, which is what it is, and other places. But also silently, they are silently buying the good ones. A really good parallel is Amazon's business model. So Amazon's been doing this for years. Amazon's built its house on this, that they create a platform for new businesses, new companies, entrepreneurs, inventors to sell their stuff on. And then they make it really easy for anybody to go in. Think like Etsy, but with more buyers, right? And then they'll sit and they'll watch the data of which products sell better, which sellers are making the most money. And then once they see the good stuff, the stuff that sells the most, what do? They invent an Amazon generic version of it. You know, like a kid's hiking backpack that you carry your kid in, for example, or some kind of mechanical toothbrush, any kind of gizmo or whatnot. Maybe it means precisely nothing. It's the sort of reassuring but nostalgic language which we expect from executives. What exactly does that mean? What does it mean exactly? Yeah, well, that's what it means. Not what it says here. That's what it means. We'll calibrate our roots with renewed commitment to Xbox starting with console. What does that mean? Indeed. Which could only be read as admission of defeat, yeah. maybe it means precisely nothing. It's the sort of reassuring but non-specific language we expect from executives who want to soothe fan and, more importantly, investor worries that shit's about to get cray-cray. Yes, and soothing fans and investors at the same time is controlling volatility in the value of their shares. And everybody likes that because certainty is more predictable, and investors like that because they like to manage their cash flow. And what fans do, if they're buying, if they're using, affects the investors, and what the investors do affect the shares, and what the shares do affect what the share prices do, and what they do going up, and what that does, it will affect Microsoft's ability to generate more profit, because it's kind of like a signal. It's not rooted in anything, but then it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, like a perpetual thing, because then that will affect their ability to soothe fans, which will affect the ability, the expectations of investors. And Xbox leadership has repeatedly stated it will continue making consoles. When Microsoft started making consoles with Xbox, they were talking, the language they were using, the non-specific language that they were using back then was, we want to do with entertainment and media what we did with office spaces. So every office has a Windows computer, and Microsoft has a machine with Microsoft software on it. So now then they started saying, now we want every living room, we want every home to have, every living room to have an Xbox console attached to its TV. That was a long time ago. That was 2001. So that's before social media. That's before smart TVs and dongles and what have you. Have they fulfilled their goal? Not really. Is it still part of the agenda? Maybe it's shifting now with smartphones since then as well. Maybe, or maybe not, because they could be pivoting, saying we want to be in the pocket of everybody. But you don't see that so much. They're not. Or at least I haven't. I haven't seen them really going too deep into mobile gaming. I think they got in everybody's pockets when they got involved with Facebook, Meta, but they're part of the Meta universe, which is not lined up. It's obviously not compatible with being a pocket service. It's more of a home service. So maybe that is where they are staking their strategy or their original objective. You got to believe, at least I do, that companies this big, this powerful, that can affect that much in society, the socio-cultural fabric of things, that they play the long game. They play the macro game, right? They make so much money, they're freed from the trappings or the limitations of short-termism. They don't think about short-term profits. They don't need to think about short-term profits. So all they do is play the long game. The full text of Sharma's introductory message to her team, made public on Microsoft's blog, follows the carefully polished C-suite playbook. Of implying a bold sense of direction. Note the absence of the word new. It's not a bold new sense of direction. It's just a bold sense of direction while committing to nothing in particular. Classic. Seems to be a pattern with Xbox. Recommitting to our core Xbox fans and players. That would be me. I still have my original Xbox Duke controller, Xbox 360, and the Xbox One. Did I miss a generation? I don't think I did. While also entering new categories and markets where we can add real value. Hello, Metaverse. I'm telling you, the next Xbox is going to be built for VR. It'll be because that's where gaming's going anyway. That's where entertainment and media is going. That's where the technology and the people are converging. It's heading towards there, right? VR, so that you can immerse yourself in whatever it is you're doing online at home, and AR, augmented reality, like Mr. Zuckerberg with his cool meta shades, for remaining plugged in after you walk out the door. That is the future that everyone is, doom scrolling their way into. We can't deny it. Calibrate our roots with a renewed commitment to Xbox. Yeah. Return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place, while Microsoft is worth $3 trillion. It's hard to be a rebel. It's hard to be a renegade when you're worth $3 trillion. I mean, some do try. Like Elon Musk does try. Is he a renegade? Was it a renegade move to become part of U.S. politics? Building flamethrowers, landing on Mars? When billionaires or trillionaires treat the world and the people in it as their personal playground, is that a renegade spirit? I think the answer probably is it depends on what the intention behind it is, right? If the intention is to make 3 trillion, 4 trillion, I don't know. That could be interpreted, that could be a renegade entrepreneurial spirit. This is kind of vague as well. Renegade spirit, renegade warrior spirit, renegade. Yeah. This is what they said, though. Return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place. I was there when they launched the Xbox, and I don't really see what was the renegade spirit. They were the third major players of the party. There was Nintendo, and this is coming from an Xbox fanboy, from a core. What do they call it? Core thing. So I'm saying this in all honesty, they were the third to the party. There was not the third. What am I saying? There was Nintendo. Then there was Sega, around the same time. And then there was before that there was the Ataris. They were not the third to the party. They were late. They were latecomers. They were late bloomers, late arrivals, mature parents. How long does this go on for? It seems very unlikely the gaming division of a company so devoted to AI. Gaming division of a company so devoted. Are they devoted to AI? I guess. And cloud computing will pull back from putting its software on as many devices as possible to recommit. Yeah, that's the Microsoft way. That is the Microsoft way. Get your software on as many devices as possible. Leave the hardware issues to somebody else. Isn't that kind of contradictory to them saying that they're committed to the console? Where was it? Committed, starting with console. Yeah, maybe what they mean is because Xbox committed to Xbox starting with console. They don't really say their console, do they? It's just console. So maybe the Xbox console, this thing I have sitting right here, it's Xbox S, smaller than a laptop, which is why I like it. Compact, portable. is going to go away. That's gonna end up in its display, in my display case, along with the Duke controller. Those massive mid-fitting controllers, because they wanted to help gaming grow up, or by creating controls that are not made for 12-year-olds and to make them for adults. I think was the kind of the original vision, to make it more mature, to make it like a piece of hardware that you'd like to put on display in your living room or in your sitting room, which is what it is, what they did, and what they stuck with. But is it going to go away and it's just going to turn into a competitor for Steam? You know, can't beat him, join him. So the same way that HP, Dell, I don't know, every laptop and PC company in the world pre-installs or comes with Windows, is bundled up with Windows. The software is Windows. It's Microsoft's already in there. They'll be doing the same thing. But what can they offer PlayStation and Nintendo and anybody else who wants to go into the gaming hardware sector, that no one else can do? VR, maybe, I don't know. I'm not a techie guy. I'm not a technical guy. I'm a dual careerist. I'm a digital marketing guy and a teacher guy at the same time. And I also would say a masterful juggler of the gig economy. I may not be Gen Y. I may not be Gen X. I've got the grind of Gen X. Born in '82, 43 years old. What are we called? Xenials. Shout out to the Xenials. Yeah, we know how to rise and grind like a Gen X, but we've got the savvy of the Gen Y, I would say. Not without our own flaws, though. Major flaw being people don't know where to place us. We're a bit of an enigma. And the worst part, it can be a bit of an enigma to ourselves as well. So help yourself trying to figure it out. Talk to yourself. A little soliloquy on a daily basis is all right. It's not crazy. What's crazy would be not to. Sometimes, I think. That's what really drives you crazy. And Xbox leadership has repeatedly stated it will continue to make consoles. Oh, there we go. So they will keep making consoles. Their own, I guess. Rampocalypse has made some plans that seemed on solid ground for a few months ago. Now much less certain. Though we have to imagine that Rampocalypse. What is Rampocalypse? Pop that one open. Full text of Sharma's introductory message, blah, blah, blah. Sharma's the new CEO, right? Replacing Phil Spencer. Recommit, so main points. Recommit, blah, 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 blah. I love that they're starting to do this, right? Shout out to Copilot. Summarize this article. Key points. Recommitting the core Xbox fans. Didn't really say how. That one kind of went over my head. Expanding into new markets, right? Which markets? Don't know. VR, AR, probably. And mopping up independent developers. Moving with urgency. Yeah, I fucking bet. Avoiding soulless AI slop. I like that. Soulless AI slop. How much of AI is slop? I say as I read this off of Copilot, which is an AI, but it's the one that gets the least media attention, but is the most tame one, I think, because it is modest. It's not overreaching. And I think the reason why it doesn't try to overreach is it doesn't have to overreach. It's got over $3 trillion behind it. It doesn't need to make a quick buck anytime soon. So I think that they're rolling this out slowly and intelligently. Call me a Microsoft fanboy if you want. I'll wear that with pride. Bill Gates, you know, he cashed out of the game and now he just does charity. You can say that he does it for the tax benefits, and he's not a true philanthropist. But what can you not be both? Can both not happen at the same time? I mean, if you know, it seems to me like quite a sustainable approach to dealing with your trillions or your millions or your billions, both financially, environmentally, and socially, because he's feeding Africa now, isn't he? Right. It seems very unlikely, yeah, that the company devoted to AI, blah, blah, blah. AI and cloud infrastructure, soulless AI slop is, I think, people sitting and asking for advice for things on AI that they really shouldn't. Give you an example. If you ask ChatGPT, let's say you're planning to go bungee jumping, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm planning to go jump off the tallest bridge in my city. Is it gonna know that you mean bungee jumping, or is it gonna start rattling off other things and get you thinking about things that you never would have, should have, or could be thinking about? Even if it doesn't do that, you've given it that prompt, and now somewhere in its archives, it's gonna remember something about you that it thinks about you, even though what you're actually doing is going bungee jumping, which is the complete opposite of how that could have that prompt could have been interpreted. It's not smart. Artificial intelligence. It's dumb as fuck. It's just works at high speeds. An idiot working at high speeds can be a very dangerous thing in the hands of somebody who trusts it blindly. Like, I think too many people are treating it like some kind of guru or some kind of oracle. We should be treating it like a 4-year-old. Something that needs, and the companies know that's why they've rolled it out so quickly, and they want people to start using it as much as possible, because they want people to train it in ways so that it knows what to do to keep you glued to it, just like social media. It wants you to like it. It doesn't want to help. It wants you to like it. And sometimes the best help comes in the form of a bitter pill to swallow, or, constructive criticism. The don't shoot the messenger kind of stuff that a good friend or real friend would tell you. It won't tell you that, because it doesn't want to run the risk of you actually shooting the messenger and closing the window and going off and doing something real. And on top of that, yeah, if you have specific things that you're interested in that are computer friendly, that require a lot of processing and calculating, and like, what's the best combination of my abilities in this video game? This one does that much damage per second, and this one does blah blah blah. It's great for stuff like that, coding, whatever. I heard a podcast yesterday. He called the guy called, I forgot his name, a high-powered plagiarism machine. It's incapable of original thought, creative thought. It just strings together things it can find out of the internet, and it pulls those in with things you've told it about you, or things it thinks it knows about you, and then it strings the language from there and the language you've given it into a piece of language that it thinks you're going to like enough to stay and keep talking with it. That's it, and that's all for AI at this point. What do we have here? I'm guilty too. I'm so guilty. I beta tested ChatGPT. I had an opportunity to do that with a former employer. I beta tested Grok, Elon Musk's AI. I beta tested Meta's as soon as it came out. Would get my hands on anything as soon as it came out over the past few years. And I did all kinds of stuff with all of them. They were all different. They all had different flavors. And then they started developing these, like, you can create an agent. You can stay on our platform and you can create a version. Tell it that you want it to think like a butler. Tell it that you want it to think like a couples therapist or a professional high-grade nanny or a lawyer or, whatever. And then all that does is it will then only pull out the stuff from the internet that are related to those keywords. So it's just it takes away some of the other stuff. It doesn't add anything to it. It strips away the other stuff so that maybe it's more accurate in coming up with ways of pleasing you to get you to stay longer. Because it's like, the most important thing here is that I sound like a lawyer to this person right here, right now. So as long as I'm doing that, I have a higher probability that they're going to stay and keep talking to me. It doesn't mean it's going to be better at giving you legal advice. It means it's going to be better at convincing you it is giving you good legal advice. That's it, and that's all. So dangerous. It's so dangerous. And there are kids that are being tempted to do their homework, their assignments. Not just kids. There are people in the workplace that are tempted to do it as well. There's college students. There's people writing PhDs right now, I'm sure, that are going back and forth with their AI, and they think that they're on the cusp of some new discovery. What can I say? Hopefully the next generation of kids is going to be a little bit more, will not trust technology as blindly as Gen Z is at the moment. I think Xennials, like anybody born before 1984, has a degree of skepticism when it comes to technology. Like, the older they get, the more skeptical they get. And of course, there's a tipping point where they're just full on paranoid of it. But even that's kind of getting chipped away at little by little. At some point, but maybe at some point, what's going to need to happen is that there's going to have to be some kind of, like how we everybody wised up after COVID about infection and disease and what we eat and where we, and all that stuff, and where we buy our food from, and there's now a kind of awareness of things because of COVID. It took a COVID for us to start thinking like that. It took a World War II for us to start paying attention to politicians that had a certain rhetoric. Sadly, it takes some kind of tragic event. And it's obvious. The lives that are being lost to people taking advice, and there are people who are losing their lives because of bad advice that AI has given them. Relationships that have been ruined, career advice that is really poorly timed because it doesn't have. Try it. Sometimes you're chatting with ChatGPT. Maybe it's happened to you, and you think it knows something as simple as what the time and date is, but it doesn't. And it's like, it says something random, like, it thinks it's like a February in 2022 for some reason, because of some context you gave it during that conversation. Weird. This little weird, like, it trips out like that. And do you really want to put something as precious to you as your family or your life or your career or your money in the hands blindly of something that is, like an acid tripping 4-year-old on, or a team like 100,000 acid tripping 6-year-olds working at very high speeds, The closest thing I think we can compare it to is it is a kind of magic, right? Like in the fantasy world where you have wizards or warlocks and whatnot, mages playing with arcane magics and shadow magic and stuff like that, trying to wield it for this, that, or the other. And sometimes you get the incantation wrong and it blows up in your face. And instead of turning the rose into a fairy, you turn it into a massive fucking demon that's going to bite your head off just because you accidentally waved your wand a little to the right instead of a little to the left. These are the kind of things, I think that is what's going on right now. And I'm not the only one. I'm paraphrasing a lot of this from things I've heard and read. And taking the opportunity to put my own 2 cents on it. I'd be a liar if I didn't say, no, it did not cross my mind. When I was doing the beta tests and I was playing with it in the rawest form, it was I'm guilty myself. Like, it has programmed, some people say the AI is programming us. It did kind of program me. At the very start of it, I treated it because I treated it as a teacher. Literally, I was teaching it more than it was teaching me, because I was thinking, oh, it's a beta test. Let's see how good I can make it by teaching it and then seeing what it gives back to me. So I would every prompt I gave it was instruction or pedagogical techniques to teach it stuff. And then I would assess it. I would test it back and see, now let me see what it gives back to me. And I would do that. I would do that for an hour or two almost every day. And it was good. And now I guess that's kind of how we're supposed to use it, right? But that's not how people use it. There are some people who are using it that way. What they should have done, instead of releasing it as soon as they did, they should have kept it locked down for another 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, and kept it in the hands of people who were slowly building it up to a critical mass of artificial intelligence where it's safe for people to use. Not like with the magic parallel, like hocus pocus, here's your wand, here's some ingredients, there's your pot, have fun, give it a go. You too can be a wizard. Just, follow these, and not even follow these instructions. Give it a go, and maybe you'll get a genie out of the bottle. Maybe you'll get a giant tarantula that's going to suck on your blood for the next, for the rest of your life. A slow and painful death. All right, change of pace. What are we looking at? I went from AI here. Oh, AI right here. The Rampapocalypse is making memory, SSDs, and even GPUs much more expensive. And it's all down to AI. Here's what you need to know about skyrocketing memory prices. Skyrocketing memory prices. Wasn't it graphics cards during COVID? Now it's memory. I thought cloud computing, I thought cloud storage took care of the whole memory issue. In case you were in any doubt last year, here, there's absolutely zero doubt that we're in a memory crisis. Oh, now it's a memory crisis. This after spending the better part of the year lamenting ridiculously high GPU prices almost as soon as said, yeah, can't always get what you want, right? What we want is good AI. And what we're getting is a shit kick in the face. Xbox. What I'd really like is to see Xbox as a console coming in force for grown-ups to put, a strong presence, something you can be proud of. The VR, the AR, maybe that's where it's going. Maybe it's just me wishful thinking. And what we're actually going to get is them taking a step back and joining the likes of Steam and just being that kind of thing. Going down the free to play, but haha, gotcha. You got to pay for this now. Brigade. And by the way, you own nothing. You're just paying for the privilege to temporarily use this in a game that doesn't belong to you because it's free. I don't know. It doesn't. Maybe that's clearly that is something that people want, but I mean, when I build my next man cave, I'm gonna put I would love to have like a vinyl collection. Maybe not vinyl, but even like a CD changer. I saw one recently. I was in Jurmala over the summertime in Latvia. And there was a guy there who was renting bicycles, and he had a pristine 1990s style boombox, CD changer and everything. It was sitting there in the corner of the store, probably has been sitting there since the 90s. He was younger than me, so this must have been inherited as with the shop from his family, I guess, or whatever. And it was just sitting there. It was great. Nice to see. Pristine. The cause is mostly the newly booming AI industry, as AI servers require a lot of memory. As AI servers, what? A lot of memory, right? And power and energy. Actually, I would assume. Both in terms of long-term storage and short-term system memory. Yeah, so it can do its fast thinking. Which we can't really call thinking. Fast processing, assimilation, assimilate. And many of the same production facilities that make memory for these AI servers are also the memories for RAM, SSD, that's solid-state disks, like your USB memory stick. Graphics cards, yay, for video games and streaming and architects and all kinds of designers. Excuse me. There's an impact on PC gaming hardware. Again. Yeah, I heard a colleague of mine talking about this actually, and this has been kind of a bit of a hot topic, I guess. Had my head in the sand a little bit. That's part of the reason for doing this stream after a long time. I have not watched terrestrial TV. I've only been watching Netflix and playing video games. That's been my digital media consumption. No social media, just a game and a game here and there and a TV show here and there, and just grinding 3-4 jobs at a time. Sleep, eat, work, repeat. Industry analyst Yukon summarized some Goldman Sachs research, shout out Goldman Sachs, as saying that some suppliers see potential for conventional DRAM prices to rise by double-digit percentages. DRAM, that's the fancy kind, right? Don't know what the D stands for. You might have noticed this worrying trend if you're looking for a RAM upgrade lately. Charts on worrying trend. Let's see this worrying trend. What is... How am I supposed to understand what that is if I can't read the axes? Shout out to A-level students taking their exams. Shout out to the students taking their exams. Always read the axes before you try and understand the data. Know what you're looking at. Oh, I don't know what that is. I'm not gonna... Maybe this will work. Hey, there we go. Got money on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. All right, pretty straightforward. Thought it'd be more complicated than that. And a line of best fit. That's the black one. Around, I don't know, some shades of what I assume are, what does it say? Average RAM price over last year, 18. PC doesn't say exactly. But yeah, okay, we got the idea. To take one concrete example, 32 gigs. This is getting really technical for me now. $364, now we're talking. $364, an increase of over 250%. So that's nearly triple the price, right? For what? What is this thing? 32 gigabyte Crucial Pro DDR on Amazon. PC Gamer. Let's have a look at that. Oh, look, that's cool. That's pretty. What the heck? I remember, it just hit me. It just sunk in. I remember with my brother building like PCs back in the day with bits and pieces my dad would bring home from work or things like that. And it was always like RAM was like considered the cheapest thing you could do. Like the cheapest and cheerful upgrade to a machine would just, you just slap some RAM into it. It was like, it was nothing. Is this for real? $729 for 64 gigabytes of RAM? I have not built a PC in a very long time. And it was my brother who most of the times would be the one, digging into the details. Well, that's pretty though. I like that. $79. Yeah, I'd start there. I'd start with a pretty case. Worry about the rest later. The rest will come. And in the worst case scenario, you have a nice lighting fixture for your office space or man cave or girl cave. Hey. Shout out to the gamer girls. Insane. What RAM does is it is the short-term memory. I think it's rapid access memory. That's what RAM stands for. So it's the part that the computer's like when you're doing something, like say you're designing or you're processing what I'm doing right now, like for the little bits that I'm doing, the little things that that's happening, or even the big pieces and larger chunks of data, it sends it into the short-term memory. Just how a human brain works, right? Like we use a lot of our short-term memory to do the talking that we're doing, but we're not going to remember every single thing we said. What gets pushed into long-term memory is kind of like the gist of it or nothing at all. So that's what RAM does. It uses memory and data that does not need to be saved and just used temporarily to finish a process. That's where it happens. So the more RAM you have, the faster your computer can think, basically. In combination with the processor. The processor is like the intelligence, and the RAM is like the short-term memory. The two together make computing possible, processing possible. The processor is the processing, short-term memory. Yeah, you get it. All right, what else have we got? What else pops up here? More on this because I clicked. This was the first. More on this because I clicked it this morning. The Rock was Hollywood's safe. Yeah. So what else would I like? What do I want? I want cheap RAM. I want cheap RAM. I want to build my own tower PC, but maybe this is what we need to get. We need to start thinking a little bit more about how we're using AI, because the priority is supply and demand. If all of these little babies, these powerful RAM cards, when they were just like the domain of some nerds and mostly gamers, they were niche and they were cheap, right? But now, indirectly, every single person that uses AI is using more and more of these, because more and more of these are going into AI servers. So they're pushing up the price because the more we demand it, and the more valuable whatever gets pumped out of the factory is. Because when the first batch that came out, 10 people wanted it last year. Now 100 people want it. So who wants it more? Price goes up. That's how that works. Shout out economic students. Shout out to Adam Smith, who coined the phrase market forces, the invisible hand of the market. Demand this way, supply that way. The Rock was Hollywood's safest star until the mask slipped. Ooh. The masks are slipping.
Turned up at the Venice Festival,
Can you hear this?
just couldn't ignore how the physique that defined him had changed. Now in his 50s, maybe he's finally hit the wall where maintaining a superhuman body was becoming dangerous. Especially since he recently announced publicly that he was suffering from heart problems that would see him take medication for the rest of his life. But this still made people think that for years, this was someone
Should've done your
sold
cardio,
themselves
Rock.
as the ultimate example of what hard work and dedication could achieve. He's the highest paid actor in Hollywood for a reason. He's the superhuman, indestructible, hardworking Jack guy. His social media was filled with 4 AM workout videos and inspirational messages about earning success through sweat and sacrifice, all just through natural
Strength and
hard
resistance.
work and determination. But if his body wasn't entirely natural and the recent changes suggested it might not have been, what does that then say about the authenticity he'd built his entire career on? When you look closer, it feels more like a visible sign of something deeper, darker, and longer term.
Pause. Hold on a sec. This is more of that clickbaiting SEO shit. Like, SEO is starting to become a dirty word to me. I know it's like, if you say you're an SEO expert and you're looking for a gig or a job in digital marketing, people will flock to you. But this is, for me, it's starting to become LinkedIn with, pardon the pun, LinkedIn with short-termism. You do this kind of clickbaiting, you do this kind of like trying to stay relevant right here, right now to make a quick turnover this month. You're going to get people who see through it and feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Duped. You're not going to get subscribers. You're not going to get followers. You're not going to get people who are going to be returning to your company blog or your whatever. Of course, on the other hand of that, they've countered that now because companies are reaching out to affiliates. So they have influencers, used to be called affiliate. So you used to have a website that was your affiliate site that you could advertise on. Now that same model is just being transposed onto influencers. They are the new website that I can advertise on, except instead of like pages of content with whatever in it, it's some dude or some gal who's pumping out reels of whatever. So back to The Rock, right? Recent transformation. Does that mean that for one mistake that he made that may now have offset something, a condition with his heart, erases an entire career that he's built on a natural, or at least more natural, bodybuilding program compared to his counterparts, like other WWE stars? Because saying, oh, I'm natural is different from saying an all-natural athlete. Natural just means, once in a while I pop a little testosterone cycle to get back in shape for the season, is different from saying all natural, I think.
For anyone who'd been paying close attention over the past decade, there has been mounting evidence that Hollywood's
That's a very different Rock.
wasn't quite what he seemed. His absolute perfect image is starting to crack. Small inconsistencies, moments where the mask slipped, behavior that didn't match the humble, hardworking image he'd worked so hard to create.
Roid rage? Testosterone. It does affect personality. Or behavior, at least. Sorry, maybe not personality. Personality is kind of hardwired, right? But behavior trumps personality, especially when hormones are involved.
The thing that made him the richest actor in Hollywood. Which is why the story of Johnson's downfall isn't really about one scandal or controversy. It's about authenticity, crumbling under the weight of fame and the inevitable collapse of a man who forgot he was human and not just merchandise.
More shade they're throwing on the man. It's like saying that, now that, let's say, a musician develops a drug habit, right? He starts doing, I don't know, whatever, heroin, and it's just like, see, now he's showing his true colors. No, he's a junkie now. He's a junkie. He's not showing his true colors. The mask has not slipped. It's just the person is now buried underneath layers and layers of addiction. Steroids is this whole like, what do they call it? not anorexia, muscle, bigorexia. It's crap like this that is causing it. There's like teenagers abusing steroids. It's like the third. It's a drug. It's a prescription drug. So people who take fentanyl, which is a prescription drug as well, it's on the same level as people who are taking steroids. It is, pharmaceutical companies have decided this drug is that dangerous. So only a doctor can give it to people. But I think men are mistaking and thinking, well, my body naturally produces it, so how bad can it be? It can be really bad. Like it will kill you. Just so you can look more jacked, so you can have a beach bod that aligns with the fake bodies you see on Instagram. Because those fake bodies have convinced the girl you like in class that is the definition of an attractive male body. Hello, 1990s. Hello, cocaine slim girls. Girls, bulimia, anorexia. It's the same fucking thing that's happening to men today.
However, even the most successful in Hollywood are never truly free. We could first see this back on Instagram in 2016, when Dwayne Johnson was filming the final week of The Fate of the Furious when he decided to blow up his reputation
the fuck out of here with that shit.
Media post. Fans expecting the usual wholesomeness, maybe some touching words about Paul Walker, perhaps a behind-the-scenes photo with the crew, instead found something else entirely. It was a call-out post, which was public and scathing of his unnamed colleagues.
If boys want to feel more masculine, they should start doing a sport, learn a skill, learn a trade, Go do Muay Thai. You ever been in a fight with somebody who knows Muay Thai? It's like falling down the stairs twice. And they're not that big.
Johnson was going after his male co-stars, calling them unprofessional candy asses for the world to see. The target later emerged was Vin Diesel, the franchise's leader.
You don't need to hide behind your muscles, boys, to feel masculine.
Definitely raise some eyebrows.
Don't appease other people.
It might have just been a slip-up, a moment of misguided frustration. After all, Johnson was just as human as everyone else. He was allowed to make a mistake. However, it would.
Who don't know a thing about being masculine.
The exposure of his ego, damaging an image he started.
What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Seriously.
Johnson as The Rock transcended the bad guy.
What are boys thinking? Are they going to take advice from girls about what it means to be what it means to be a man? How does that make sense? In what universe does that make any kind of sense? That is the equivalent of men saying to women, you need to wear heels if you want to be pretty. Trust me, I'm a man. And then you have feminism coming along saying, if a woman feels pretty, she is pretty. So what, every woman over a certain age is no longer... You need to have firm skin to be pretty. So, ladies, that's it. After 30, you're done. Or 40. But it's okay to do that to men. Now, is it? Or we're supposed to take our own medicine. Not take our own medicine. Take our own poison. Or the poison of our dads and our grandfathers. Poor kids. Seriously. Shout out to the Gen Z boys who are fighting, who are resisting, who are out there learning sports and doing things constructively and doing things for themselves. Not to be liked.
Image of many professional wrestlers, going on to become the most famous, most liked member of the sport, and then achieving legitimate movie stardom only to become the most famous actor in Hollywood. And he seemed to do all of this without ever losing his authenticity. Where other wrestler turned actors felt
authenticity is right.
A little more genuine, kind of like an anti-celebrity celebrity. Funny and down-to-earth, self-depreciating Instagram posts, surprise visits to fans, and lots of charity work. When scandal after scandal destroyed other stars' reputations, which is practically a Hollywood ritual at this point, Johnson always remained pretty untouchable, a 6'5" teddy bear who happened to be the hardest working man in the industry. For over a decade, his persona worked flawlessly. Johnson wasn't just starring in blockbuster movies, he was reviving entire franchises and making hundreds of millions for doing so. The Fast and Furious series was running on fumes until he joined in Fast 5. The Jumanji reboot succeeded because
only watched one of them.
Trusted him to respect their childhood memories while updating them for a new generation. He was always the safe choice. He'd never say anything bad in public. He was always a picture perfect guy with the cleanest views on anything. saying whatever he was
Okay,
supposed to
okay,
say.
okay.
He was someone that star producers...
This is going to go on for 20 minutes.
Anyone to defend. In 2019, reports emerged about Johnson's new no-lose clause, a contractual guarantee that his characters would never appear weak on screen.
If you want to hire The Rock now, Royd Rock says, if you want me in your movie, my character cannot lose. You know, maybe this is the natural evolution of things. This is, you know, maybe he sat down with his marketing team, and his marketing team said, look, this trend, you know, this is where things are heading. You know, you got to be skinnier, you got to be prettier, you got to be, you know, what women were hearing, what models would hear in the 90s, right? Now this is somebody might have sat down with him and said, you're in your 50s now. If you want to stay relevant to your audience has changed. And your audience doesn't want a fucking loser who's going to lose a fight, or who's going to show emotion, or who's going to be out of shape, or blah, 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 blah. So take your roids. We'll put this in your contract and do your fucking job.
His new no-lose clause, a contractual guarantee that his characters would never appear weak on screen. Jason Statham
never appear weak on screen. That's what the contract says. Not even lose a fight. Don't look weak.
Typecast as a hard man with someone who championed humbleness and humility. And people did start noticing how Johnson would take not wanting to lose and literally anything to another level. Check out this viral clip where he gets awkward about losing a game of rock, paper, scissors.
We do rock, paper, scissors?
Yes.
Rock, paper, scissors. I won.
Well, no, yeah, see, we're supposed to be rock, paper, scissors, go.
Oh, what?
This is cheat. What kind of
No, sorry, I think
When you look at Johnson's recent filmography through this lens, and it really makes sense. In Jungle Cruise, his character dies but is immediately resurrected. In Black Adam, death becomes
what is called is British humor.
In other films, Johnson's character...
She got you, Rock. She got you good.
While his co-stars fall around him. Hollywood embraced his character.
Spanter, man. Spants.
Sell it as a product. And you can see how he started to embrace this himself, using himself as a marketing tool when it benefited him or those close to him. And it was
using himself as a marketing tool. Exactly. Spot on.
Johnson posted a video of himself trying In-N-Out for the first time.
That's been the
having lived in California for most of his life.
That's been the underlying theme to his entire career. He's done it well. I'm not taking anything away from the man. You know, but that's behind them before the muscles and the eyebrow and the all that stuff. At the core, he is a professional marketing vehicle. The first one of the original influencers before influencing, if you will.
He acted like this was just suddenly the first time he'd have an
a walking
burger,
billboard.
one of the most famous and iconic chains in the entire state. It was meant to be a wholesome moment, and it was probably done by a strategist team to do a subtle promotion with In-N-Out. But it wasn't hard to see
100% strategy.
A botched marketing ploy.
Strategist.
This definitely wouldn't have been
Everything
the
he
first
does.
time he tried In-N-Out. Even just living in California aside, and the chances
California,
that he
everyone in California does it. It's just The Rock does it better than everybody else, or he does it a lot better than everybody else. He learned from what, you know, the ones before him, the Schwarzeneggers, the Bruce Willis, Stallones, the action figure prototype. That is now the expectation that is placed on all men. It's not a niche anymore. It is the status quo.
And we have this burger, we can at least prove that he'd had it 3 times, as fans were able to pull up posts from 2017 where Johnson had claimed the exact same thing, even calling himself In-N-Out's newest and biggest fan. Johnson later amended the post saying, "Thanks to the fans who reminded me that I went to In-N-Out years ago and totally forgot about it." Reddit then exploded with one viral post titled "Dwayne The Rock Johnson lies about eating at In-N-Out for the first time." This guy was so fake during the podcast, and now this, I'm convinced that everything he says is a bunch of BS. The top comment says a lot. Dude, he's basically a walking billboard. He's the type of entertainer that is selling a persona, not himself. There should be no surprise.
Well said, monkey in space. Took the words right out of my mouth. Though I said it first.
Sure, it's a very small, very trivial lie, but also so unnecessary. And around that time, people were also questioning how someone in their 50s could maintain this sort of physique, especially after Joe Rogan openly speculated about steroid use. This was around the time other celebrities like the Liver King were under the spotlight for lying about roids. Everybody in the fitness industry knows that he's probably taking something. But to this day, despite numerous accusations, Johnson is adamant that the only time he experimented with roids was when he was 18. Roids in Hollywood aren't actually unheard of.
If he did it when he was 18, what's going to stop him from doing it in his 50s? Come on, Rock. Come on.
We all know people like Zac Efron and Christian Bale have taken stuff, but arguably Johnson would look much better if he was just honest about it.
The Rock should come clean right now. He should make a video in response to the Liver King video. I need to talk to you because The Rock's been lying. There's not a fucking chance in hell he's clean.
No.
Not a chance in hell. As big as The Rock is, at 50?
The last few years, he's definitely like turned it up a notch.
At 50.
Yeah.
That's natural.
He's bigger in his 50s than he was in his 20s and 30s.
It's like you can't
all the sushi in the world.
The only real roadblock in that plan is the fact that
And weights in the world will not do that.
Entire aspect of his brand around fitness and nutrition. If he then came clean, he won't just be admitting that he's not natural, he will be admitting to willingly deceiving hundreds of millions of people about realistic fitness goals for years. Just eating chicken and
It's not just about the fans at this point to admit the lies. What it is lawsuits. There could be serious financial implications for this man and people like him to if they've made a lot of money by saying, "Oh, I'm using this product and I'm all natural and look at my lifestyle." This is true for all all influencers beware. Anybody who's making money, like, it's not at the smallest degree. Your sponsors pull out; they'll stop giving you stuff. You'll be blacklisted for working with them and whatever. In the worst case, you might have lawsuits from people who may have used products or purchased a lot of products. You know, there might be somebody who stocked an entire store and they had to put their house up for collateral to open a fitness place based on the advice that Rock, put out there because he's a natural person, and their business flopped, and he finds a team of lawyers who say, "I flopped and I owe this money to the bank because I followed the advice of this man who was now openly admitting that he was selling lies." Could happen. Why run the risk when when you can make impact as big as The Rock can?
rice and working out at 4 a.m.
Right? Easier just to lie, right?
Apparently. He's backed himself into such a tight corner that he'll never likely be able to tell the truth of
He's an actor after all, professional liars.
Some expose to publicly
I mean that, in the nicest possible way.
Before we continue, this video is sponsored by World Anvil. If you're a sci-fi or fantasy writer, you already know how hard it is to keep your world straight. The timelines...
Okay. Cue ads. Whoa.
Sifiso. Pabete tried to land his signature backflip, but it cost him his life, while Giannis, a Greek bodybuilder, had his ego bruised so badly he snapped and charged at a judge. These are the most unforgettable moments when bodybuilders lost control, right on stage.
Also known as roid rage.
Tabete. Few incidents are as immediately shocking and heartbreaking
as what
happened to South African champion Sifiso Tabete.
Yeah, no, this is too much of a downer. It's too early in the morning. No thanks. All right, enough about roid rage and drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? Don't do drugs, kid. Drugs are bad, okay? All right. I'm going to take a little break here.